Hey everyone, this is Chris Coelho with part 2 of debating who is stronger, Krillin or Tien. Let's get back to it. So, continuing where we left off, Krillin was also very useful in the fight against Freiza. He managed to keep Freiza away from Gohan and had a massive moment where he used Kienzen, catching Freiza off guard and cutting his tail off in the process. He follows it up with a parade of attacks, forcing Freiza to have to dodge all of them. This means Krillin is the first person to ever damage Freiza. So just remember that the next time you want to make fun of him. Now the android saga begins and everyone goes off training and is getting stronger in preparation for the androids. So here is where the human characters really start to get left behind. Poor Yamcha. Alright, we can assume both Krillin and Tien did get a lot stronger during their training. There's still nothing here to suggest that Tien closed the gap between them, as Krillin was training just as hard as Tien was. Krillin gets a moment versus the first form of Cell, where he saves a woman and her kid, but that was also filler, so I'm not going to focus on that, but I still just wanted to bring it up because it was a cool moment for Krillin nonetheless. So let's get to the other big moment people like to bring up, and that's Tien's moment against second form Cell. Tien uses Tri-Beam to hold Cell down, and it's holding Cell back, but it's doing absolutely no damage to Cell. It's just enough power preventing Cell from escaping, but this requires Tien to also be killing himself in the process to achieve this. And in the end, he almost died holding Cell back. If Goku didn't show up at the last second, he would have died. Now, people like to think this moment somehow means Tien is stronger than Krillin, but I simply don't see how. Tien used a technique that was killing himself in the process, and it did no damage to Cell at all. And we never got to see Krillin attack second form Cell. So if Krillin is stronger than Tien during the Namek saga from his power boost, and he trained preparing for the androids, as did Tien, then Krillin would still be stronger than Tien, and if so, if Tien managed to achieve what he did for second form Cell, it's only logical to think if Krillin used Kienzen, it would have been enough to cut Cell, or at least hurt him in some kind of way. Okay, people like to also bring up when Krillin used Kienzen against final form Cell, and it disintegrated into nothing. Well, that didn't actually happen. That was filler. And even if it did happen, that was final form Cell. Trunks and Vegeta both got their butts handed to them, and they were Ultra Super Saiyan. What could Krillin or Tien do? If Tri-Beam barely worked against second form Cell, it was going to do absolutely nothing against a final form Cell. So I don't really get this comparison, and it doesn't show Tien is stronger than Krillin in any meaningful way. So at this point, the human fighters are unfortunately being pretty ignored and are now just glorified cheerleaders. But during the Buu saga, we do get to see Krillin grow some hair. This is the moment people like to claim that Tien is now finally stronger than Krillin, because Krillin apparently retired and Tien never stopped training. Though this is not entirely true. Krillin is still training with Android 18, he said so himself. And I'd argue training with 18, someone stronger than a Super Saiyan, is going to be better training partner than training with somebody like Chaozu. But even if we assume Tien has never stopped and Krillin was just casually training with 18 time to time, maintaining roughly the same power level, then at best, maybe Tien was able to close that gap, but I don't think this is the case, because we even get Yamcha talking to Marin, and he says so himself that Krillin is the strongest human fighter. Some people like to say this was just Yamcha calming Marin down, but that doesn't make sense. Writers have a purpose to their words they put on the page, and why would they give us false information unless it was a part of the greater story in some kind of way? This was a line designed to finally put this argument to rest, and Toriyama himself was letting us know Krillin is stronger than Tien. Okay, Tien's origin is basically a mystery, and there's a lot of misinformation on the internet, but what we do know is Tien is from a group called the Three-Eyed People. Some say these three-eyed people are descendants of aliens, but Toriyama never mentions this himself and only says Tien's eye was thought to be godlike, and because he was raised by the evil master Shen, he lost the powers of his third eye for good uses. So for all intent and purposes, Tien is a human. So let's talk about Dragon Ball Super. I'm gonna bring up the moment where Krillin got shot by a gun. Yes, that happened. An ordinary human shot Krillin and it grazed his arm. Some people took this moment as Krillin somehow got weaker, and this wasn't the point of that scene. Krillin maybe got a little weaker, but even if he did, no way in the span of a few years did he lose all of that power. Roshi back in Dragon Ball could get shot with a gun and simply catch the bullets. So are you going to tell me Krillin is now weaker than he was back in Dragon Ball because the bullet hit him? Goku also in Super got shot with a gun and it injured his arm. By this logic, I guess Goku would be considered weak too. Super was simply showing us our heroes are still flesh and bone, and at the end of the day, Saiyan or human, they have to utilize their ki to protect themselves. So moving forward, 18 was giving Krillin some tough love. She knew he was suffering from some kind of PTSD and was definitely depressed. So this brings me to maybe my favorite episodes in Dragon Ball Super. Goku and Krillin go back and train with Master Roshi, just like the good old days. Krillin knows he's absolutely no match to Goku, but he is also not fighting with confidence and Roshi knows it. So he helps Krillin overcome his self-doubt and pursue martial arts again to get even stronger than he was before. Krillin went through a lot through this entire series, and we like to forget just how terrifying it must have been for the non-Saiyan characters, but despite Krillin having fear, he was always there ready to help his friends, no matter what. So now Krillin is training full time again, training with Goku, 18, and also just training with himself. He is clearly making massive gains because now Gohan wants to test Krillin because he doesn't think Krillin is strong enough for the Tournament of Power. Krillin shows up Gohan in a one-on-one, beating him with his new Solar Flare times 100 ability. Yes, this doesn't mean Krillin is stronger than Gohan, but it does show Krillin is being underestimated again and beating opponents way above his weight class, utilizing strategy instead of brute force. So Goku gets excited to see Krillin's progress and wants to spar him now as well. This fight was really exciting because Krillin utilized Kianzen in a ton of interesting ways, forcing Goku to dodge, and despite the power gap, if I say so myself, Krillin was really giving Goku a run for his money. This was just a ton of fun to watch, and it was just so nostalgic. It was just like watching them back in the 22nd Budokai. Goku decided to go blue, and they both had the Kamehameha moment that had some people freaking out because of the massive power gap between them. Yes, you are not wrong. The gap between them is massive, but that was the entire point. Goku wanted to see what Krillin would do when in front of someone inconceivably stronger than him. Krillin showed him he wouldn't run. He would do whatever he could, and when no options were left, he would simply stand his ground until the end. That Kamehameha struggle was Goku obviously only outputting enough power to equal Krillin's, but he also underestimated Krillin's resolve for that moment that allowed Krillin to push Goku back just a little bit. I just loved this scene. Humans were sidelined for so long, and we finally got some development, and this just showed Krillin has improved after getting over his PTSD. So now we get to spend some time with Tien, and he has now become a teacher. So maybe Tien does still train, but this tells me he simply isn't training full time because he has to devote his time to his disciples. So the theory Tien is always training doesn't quite add up here. He can't be teaching his students and devoting 100% to getting stronger, especially when the people he is training are way below his level, so none of them can give him a proper challenge to help him progress as well. This becomes more evident because Roshi faces off against Tien and completely bodies him. This was really shocking because this means Roshi was secretly training all this time, and the very episode that was supposed to show some love to Tien embarrasses him instead. So during the Tournament of Power, we got to see Krillin have a couple of cool moments, saving 18 and having a good battle as well, before he got knocked off by Frost. We then got to see Tien do a kamikaze to take the opponent with him. So unfortunately, he didn't get a single win in the Tournament of Power, and that felt pretty bittersweet. So Krillin gets a win, Tien got technically a tie. Also, I just want to mention, I was so disappointed that both Krillin and Tien didn't get as much love as I wanted them to. I wasn't expecting them to win, but I was hoping they would go further into this tournament. Roshi got a lot of love, but them two really didn't get much, so that was pretty disappointing. Okay, so we went saga by saga, and as you can see, the only moment where Tien was truly stronger than Krillin was back in Dragon Ball during the 22nd Budokai, and where it becomes clear Krillin surpassed Tien was the Saiyan arc. From there, Krillin only got stronger, and despite Tien maybe coming close and closing the gap during the Buu saga, Krillin surpasses him again in Dragon Ball Super. So there you have it. To my Tien fans, I'm really sorry, but overall, Krillin is just more heavily utilized in the entire series of Dragon Ball. And despite Tien being pretty awesome himself, he simply isn't on Krillin's level. I think we should all be furious that the humans got shafted from pretty much the Android arc onward. And instead, let's show Toyotaro and Toriyama that we love the humans too, and I just want to see them get more development and time to shine. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you missed part 1, you can click right here, and a link will be in the description as well. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you all again in my next video.